We coming for you, nigga. We coming for you, nigga. We coming for you, nigga. We coming for you, nigga.
Really?
We coming for you, nigga.
Really?
We coming for you, nigga.
Really?
We coming for you, nigga.
Finally!
We coming for you, nigga.
Mikasa Sukasa. You Eddie, right?
Yeah.
Look like Eddie Guerrero, man. You like to watch wrestling?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched wrestling? On weed? That's the way to see it, man! It's rock!
That's it.
Where you stop.
What up, world? It's your boy Physics, and you know what time it is. It is Friday, and welcome to another Wild News Joint, February 25th. On today's episode of the Wild News Joint, we're talking the end of the road for Cesaro, AJ Styles' new contract with the E, AEW's two possible signings, and more right after this.
Really? This is my yard now. It doesn't matter what
Welcome back to the Wild News Joint. And for our first segment, Cesaro leaves the WWE. Per PW Insider, Cesaro's contract has expired and he is no longer with WWE. Fightful says, we are told the two sides had been in negotiations but had not come to terms on a new agreement. One source noted that WWE did offer Cesaro an extension on his current deal, but that was turned down. This would be a case of Cesaro's contract expiring, so there would be no 90-day non-compete. Cesaro has been slated to be at tomorrow's SmackDown taping in Hershey's, Pennsylvania. Well, tonight's event, but will obviously no longer be there as his deal expired early this week. It was just 1 year ago around this time that word got around about Cesaro signing a new deal with WWE. So this news of his contract expiring comes as a surprise. Cesaro received a big push in the first half of 2021, including the win over Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 37 and lined WrestleMania Backlash against Roman Reigns, but the Swiss Superman was quickly dropped down the card for the second half of 2021. The 40-year-old one superstar has been a non-factor in the lower card on SmackDown 2022, being used to put over Sheamus and Rich Holland. His last match was against Happy Corbin on February 11, where he lost on an episode of SmackDown. Many people in WWE reacted with disappointment and dismay at the news that Cesaro is gone from the company per Fightful. He's among the most well-regarded people on the roster. One reason why WWE didn't push him recently is because there was no indication he was going to re-sign. WWE offered him a new contract, but it was rejected. Some sources say Cesaro wasn't happy with his booking. The door is still open for him to resign with WWE. But Eddie Kingston is already getting it on by tweeting. All I'm going to say is he doesn't have the balls to come to AEW. And in response to a YouTube breakdown of their feud in Chikara, he stated, "So I was humble watching the WTKR videos, and then I was humbled by this. But this shows why I don't like him." But in Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer writes that Cesaro wasn't looking to leave WWE. The two sides were negotiating a new contract, but unlike Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and AJ Styles, they couldn't come to terms. The likely reason Cesaro may be leaving now is because he wasn't offered the huge money those men were. Meltzer also writes that he's heard nothing about Cesaro joining AEW. There was no backdoor AEW offer made during the 7-time WWE Tag Champions negotiation with Vince McMahon's company. While Tony Khan may be interested that Cesaro was on the market, Meltzer also noted that TK has signed several talents lately, all of whom are younger than Cesaro. He theorizes that New Japan may be a better fit, but acknowledges that unless international travel returns to pre-COVID normal, he'd be limited to working their U.S. shows for less money. So a lot going on. And the leader, Lalo, says, "I'm happy for him." This today that Cesaro did not want to leave WWE. So there was a lot of rumors that, it was his booking, but no, he didn't want to leave. He actually wanted to be a part of the E, but the money wasn't there for him. So he wasn't able to come, to an agreement, but that doesn't mean that he can't be re-signed later. We've seen this before, so he could just be waiting it out and seeing what's going to happen next. The issue with him going to AEW is, as Dave Meltzer put it, they've already signed a bunch of people. They got people coming in now. They're still waiting to sign one more person who we all know who that's going to be. They just did an option on a wrestler who didn't even know he was going to be there, which we're going to talk about later. And everything that they do money-wise is tied to what their next TV deal is. If the TV deal is low, they're not going to be able to go out and get any more wrestlers. What we see over the next few years, what we see now is what we're going to see over the next few years. So Cesaro was kind of in this weird place where he's probably just going to be a contractor wrestler until he's either back with the E or AEW can give him an actual good offer. But like Dave Meltzer said, the age thing could be an issue. AEW screw more young, which is something that is has been happening in wrestling for a hot minute. That's where NXT comes in. And it seems like, they want to make sure that they're not in this weird place. They're not like how sports teams already get a bunch of superstars. All the superstars are there, but then once they start leaving, by the time it's going to take almost a decade to replace that superstar team with an actual good team, unless you're a really good GM. So they're trying to hedge their bets on who the future is going to be while using those that were big in the past to do all those things in the present. This is why they're lining MJF up, and why MJF is going to be the most highly sought free agent when his deal is up. I mean, the amount he's going to be a millionaire in his next contract. He's either going to get it from AEW or he's going to get it from WWE. But I hope that whenever the new contract comes, if it is with WWE and Cesaro goes back, that they do something with him. It's a damn shame he hasn't had a big title yet. I feel like that should be in the contract. Whatever contract he signs, he should have a big title match and he should win. Laylo with to MJF say Moti. Yeah, he's probably gonna get I'm gonna say beginning 1.5 and then most maybe 2. But he's gonna be good no matter what. The issue with AEW is they might not be able to sign him due to what that TV deal might be. But with Cesaro, they need to guarantee that man is gonna have either great feuds or he's gonna have. It's not going to be this Universal Championship, but the World Championship around his waist. I would love if he did resign and would say Roman Reigns has both belts, and he's the one that takes off the World Heavyweight Championship belt off of the WWE belt off of Roman. That'd be great because we've already seen them together. We already know how great Cesaro versus Roman Reigns is. So we have that right there. AEW, there's just a ton of possibilities, but the weird thing with AEW is with all of the people that they've been signing, it's just kind of hard to see where people are going to be placed. So it's like you get over there, but what are they going to do with you? And there's only so much time they have. They have only 3 hours for things, and Cesaro being on AEW Dark ain't gonna help anybody. That dude is primetime TV, which then shoots everybody else off of being on TV. So it's just a weird place where he's in, and just a weird place for wrestling where everybody's just if you're not with AEW or you're not with WWE, you're kind of floating. You have MLW you could go to, you have Impact you can go to, but a lot of people kind of just want to pick between the big two, and when that's the case, there could just be chances where you just floating until something happens. Laylo says, "Fire everybody, keep MJF. He's a goat in the making." Yeah, but then if you can't. You don't want to fire everybody, and then AEW turns into what WWE is, and then everybody turns it back on AEW. So then keeping MJF means nothing in the big scheme of things. But let's get to our next segment because somebody did sign a contract with WWE, and that is AJ Styles. Fightful Select reports that Styles signed a new contract for multiple years and was well worth over $3 million a year. There is some financial accommodation for bus travel included in his contract. His existing contract was due to expire late this spring or early this summer. When he signed an extension in 2019, he said it would be his last. But Fightful Report says WWE knew Styles would have plenty of suitors if he became a free agent and didn't want to risk losing him. So the end of AJ Styles was premature. The man is going to be here for a hot minute, a good time. And hey, as long as this April we get to see Edge versus AJ Styles, $3 million is already worth it. It already paid itself right there for me. And just all the other great things because the man is still putting on amazing matches. And I feel with AJ. He has that same fire that Kenny has, where I feel like he's done once it stops being fun, but once he stops having that hunger of putting on great matches, which is probably going to be a while. Maybe this is his last contract, and maybe he's waiting to see who else might be leaving a certain company and then coming over to WWE. And maybe they could run back something that they did in Japan. Who knows? But AJ Styles is going to be there for a while. I wouldn't be surprised in the next few years if a major belt ends back up on his waist. What we say we got in chat? Lay low. AEW could have a 30-man roster and be super lit. They could, but that's just not what they're doing. And then you always have to worry about injuries and what's the possibility that can happen. And then once you start doing tag teams, you're always going to go over 30. It's hard running a promotion, especially in the TV business. That's what Triple H said. He was like, the hardest thing when it comes to rosters and the people you bring in is when you're running a TV show, because you're just never going to have enough time to show off why everybody you sign is great. And when those big superstars start coming in, that's where the issue comes in. But speaking of AEW, let's talk about some signings on their own. Reports from Fightful Select this past Wednesday indicated that two prominent names could be All Elite very soon. Ring of Honor World Champion Jonathan Gresham was at this past AEW Dynamite backstage. Gresham has been defending his version of the Ring of Honor belt all over during that company's hiatus. It's conceivable a defense could take place in AEW ring. Fightful sources also said there's concrete information on another star telling the site that Shane Swerve Strickland, aka Isaiah Swerve Scott, is signing a contract to start with AEW next month. It said the deal has been expected since January and will go into effect the first week of March, before the March 6th Revolution pay-per-view in Orlando. So there's a possibility that hey, we get Jonathan Gresham there. If we do get him there, we all know what we want to see. Jonathan Gresham versus Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson is already going to be in the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame, so it would just make sense. He has the belt, and if you want Bryan Danielson to win, you could put the Ring of Honor belt on Bryan Danielson, especially going into the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame. It would just only make sense, especially also because one of the founders of Ring of Honor is Bryan Danielson. So if I had to put together what is exactly going to happen, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen between Bryan Danielson and Jonathan Gresham. Shane Strickland going to AEW just seems like a lock. I'm guaranteed he'll be in to the TNT. He'll be there for the TNT belt feud. Him and Sammy will be a great match. I would love to see the belt on him, but I feel like that's most likely his ceiling going to AEW, because I always felt like and I was wrong. I was like, in the past, I knew Jay Lethal would never go to WWE, but I always felt like there were two wrestlers that could have world championship around their waist. One did get it, but in NXT, and that was Ricochet and Isaiah Swerve Scott. Shane Strickland at the time. That they were the two, because they could talk on the mic. They have, just the wrestling abilities of gods when it comes to what they do in the ring. The issue is when it comes to WWE, and even when it comes to NXT, well, Ricochet did his thing in NXT, but Isaiah Swerve Scott never got to that point. Is the whole too small thing. And I feel like that's what Ricochet runs into the whole time. The fact that they don't treat Ricochet like could be the next Rey Mysterio is very stupid on their end, because having such a small wrestler beating bigger wrestlers has always made money. That's why Rey was Rey. Going into AEW with Shane Strickland, I see him doing the TNT thing. I could see him getting a championship title match against Hangman Page or whoever is going to be the champion at the time, I just don't see him winning it. So it's kind of interesting to see what will happen once Shane Strickland gets there. Speaking of AEW signings, Fightful Select reports that word going around the locker room at Wednesday's AEW Dynamite was that Brian Cage has told friends the company has picked up the option on his contract. Cage was said to have been surprised by by his option year being picked up, as he and virtually everyone on the AEW roster thought his contract would simply expire and he will become a free agent. That's what I thought as well. I didn't think he was going to be there. But they re-signed Brian Cage, and I feel like the only reason they re-signed Brian Cage was to make sure that he did not end up in WWE. Because I really felt like Cody and him were going to go in together as like a 1-2 punch. And I feel like Tony Khan was like, I can't have that. Already having Cody going to be over there is already going to be an issue. Then having Brian Cage being there as well. No. And we all know Vince loves big meaty man bumping meat. We all know that. So Vince would have loved Brian Cage. And I think Tony Khan knows that as well. So he made sure to keep that man away. The issue is you have this option. It's only 1 year. And you got to actually do something with Brian Cage. If you just have him flouting around for 1 year, you're pulling events. And he's going to make sure to try to stick it to you if he goes to the E. So hey, Brian Cage is there for 1 more year. What's he's gonna do? I have no idea. Also Jeff Hardy on the other hand, is he going to AEW or is he not going to AEW? During the film meet and greet in Louisville, Kentucky, last weekend, Jeff Hardy can be heard telling YouTuber Jared Myers, "I'm going to AEW." Post wrestling follow up with Myers, who confirmed Hardy said he's signing with AEW when his WWE non-compete expires. But this made Jeff Hardy, the Enigma, go on Twitter and say, "Nothing is official, social media. It can't be right now. I've simply set a goal for myself and I will achieve it eventually. The main thing is don't get excited." So he's signing, but he's excited that, he's leaving and he's doing something new, but also mostly he's going to be back with his brother Matt again. So he's just super excited about it and just blabbering all around. As Laylo says, Jeff talks too damn much like John Cena in the ring. So Jeff is just excited. We will see him in AEW soon. And this is why that war chest, that money that AEW has is just slowly dwindling down. And they can't sign everybody. And they're waiting for that TV contract. But, ratings were good this past week. But the last 2 weeks before that, not good. They got to get back to where they were. Because if not, it could look really it could get very interesting with what's going on in AEW. For our last bit of news, Bryan Danielson wants to be G1. Bryan Danielson revealed his desire to compete in a G1 tournament for New Japan in a recent appearance on Throwing Down with Renee and Maisha. Bryan Danielson accomplished so much in his illustrious career. He's performing at the top of his game. So what's left for Daniel Bryan? When asked if he had a wrestling bucket list, Danielson admitted he doesn't look at his career that way anymore. He said, "I don't have that bucket list. I really want to do a G1 right for New Japan. Other than that, I don't really have that in a sense of, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. When I was forced to retire, what it really made me think is I don't want to take any of this for granted." The issue is the traveling. Japan is in and out of lockdown. So him getting over there for the G1 is where it's going to get hard at. If it's going to happen, it probably won't be till next year. The other obstacle is Tony Khan. Bryan Danielson wanted to do it very early on once he got there, but Tony Khan basically told him, "We need you here. We got to use you. So, you'll be able to do G1. You just need to do all of this for us before you can do it. It's the same thing with PWG. He wanted to show up at PWG as a surprise, but Tony was like, we haven't got to LA yet, so we don't want the first match um in LA when you're outside of WWE to not be with us. So you need to wait until we do shows out there. So it's just a lot of just waiting and waiting before he can actually do his thing. And they got to get on it soon. They can't have him wait because this is the thing he wanted. It was to the point where WWE told him, hey, if you want to be in the G1 or you want to work with New Japan, you can, long as you sign with us. And you don't want him to regret the fact that this one bucket list thing that he could have done in a place that was also giving him a large amount of money. And you also offered the possibility of doing that with giving a large amount of money, and then you don't show up there for him when it comes to it. So, by not this year, well, by G1 next year, it has to happen. If it doesn't, I can see a disgruntled Bryan Danielson, and nobody wants that. Now it's time for some quick hits. Starting off, WrestleMania Saturday, we have one of the first matches that are going to be placed on a certain night, and that is on WrestleMania Saturday, April 2nd, Charlotte Flair, the Women's SmackDown Champion, versus Ronda Rousey, which most likely means that when it comes down to it, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar will be on WrestleMania Sunday. Speaking of WrestleMania, according to WrestleVote, they say that we are roughly 5 weeks out, and I'm told the WrestleMania card is still very fluid. Hence the reason for the vague Edge promo, the 2-week delay on the tag title match, and the Madison Square Garden title defense for Brock. Creative is leaving a ton of space in nearly every storyline to allow major flexibility. A 10-year member of the creative team told Ringside News that WWE has a working plan for the WrestleMania 38 card. The source stressed that nothing is locked in because Vince can change it at any second. So, as much as we still want AJ Styles versus Edge, and that is exactly where they're leading to, it is not guaranteed, but it should be guaranteed because that's the match everybody wants to see. AEW announced Double or Nothing plans this past Wednesday. 3 events taking place in Las Vegas, which is the Vegas debut of AEW Dynamite on May 25th and of AEW Rampage on May 27th live. So we're getting in a live Rampage, and then we have AEW Double or Nothing on Sunday, May 29th. According to Wrestling Observer Radio, WWE is going to finish up Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins tag team thing they have going before getting to Stone Cold Steve Austin program for WrestleMania 38. So they're making sure, and it's looking like it's going to happen. They also said the crossover storylines between Raw and NXT are expected to be the norm going forward, with wrestlers from both appearing on both shows. This is a smart thing. They're trying to make sure people are watching NXT, so it also builds up the NXT wrestlers whenever they end up in the PW Insider says there isn't currently a plan to air the upcoming Madison Square Garden show on March 5th as a special event on Peacock, but cameras will be there filming. So don't be surprised if somebody loses a belt. They also say the Bianca Belair versus Doudrop match on Raw this week received rave reviews backstage, so there could be big things in stores for the both of them. Don't be surprised if Bianca Belair gets that belt and the first person she faces after Becky Lynch, because I'm pretty sure they're going to go have another back and forth, would be Doudrop. Finally, it was noted WWE made major changes to the card on Raw just before going on air this week. Madcap Moss passed a series of medical tests following the nasty bump he took during his match with Drew McIntyre at last Saturday's Elimination Chamber per Fightful. PW Insider reports he fully cleared to return to action. TNT is exploring options for what to do with Rose to the Top. Season 2 footage they already shot now that Cody has left AEW and is suspected to sign with WWE, according to Wrestlers Open newsletter. I wouldn't be surprised if they sell the footage off to Peacock. Peacock picks up Rose to the Top, and it's now a WWE Network / Peacock show, which would be very smart because they're already filming things. They're supposedly already filming things with Cody. And you just intertwine both of those things, and people get to watch in real time him being with AEW and then him not being with AEW. And then that'd be a very smart thing. Following news that after WrestleMania, WWE Saturday night house shows will use the Saturday night main event brand. Insider and others have pointed out untelevised Sunday night shows being advertised with the name Sunday Stunner. I got my email a few days ago that they were going to be at Eagle Bank, which is in Fairfax, Virginia, and it had the Sunday Stunner on it. So, Stunner Sunday on it. I mean, yeah, Sunday Stunner. Stunner Sunday sounds better than the Sunday Stunner. But they had the Sunday Stunner logo on top of it. So that's not a WrestleMania thing, but it still looks like we're getting Stone Cold no matter what. Dave Meltzer said Ray Phoenix needs 3 more weeks before he's ready to return from his gruesome injury. That timetable means he will likely miss the AEW Revolution pay-per-view on March 6th. And for our last news joint, during an interview with PW Insider, Impact World Champion Moose indicated he is currently working through a torn labrum and will eventually need time off to properly heal. So do not be shocked if he drops that belt sometime soon. Gruss says we need Stone Cold versus Goldberg. Well, it looked like that was a possibility at one point, but it also looks like Goldberg is not coming back to the E. KG Money says Miz and Mrs. and Rose to the Top. How will I decide which to watch? I don't know, man. Your hard decisions, but that's what the Peacock is for. The cock is there for you. Now let's talk about what's going on tonight in the world of wrestling. The post-elimination chamber edition of WWE SmackDown on Fox will air live tonight from the Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Tonight's SmackDown will be headlined by a WrestleMania 38 contract signing by the winner-takes-all match between new WWE Champion Brock Lesnar and WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. Ronda Rousey is also scheduled to appear tonight. New WWE Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn celebrates his win. Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss in a rematch from Elimination Chamber. And now let's go to the latest edition of AEW's Friday Night Rampage show, which was taped from the Webster Bank Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut. We have the main event. The main attractions on tonight's card are Sami Guevara defending the TNT title against Andrade El Idolo, a contract signing between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, Orange Cassidy versus Anthony Bowens in a Face of the Revolution qualifying match, and we get Serena Deeb's 5-minute rookie challenge. Make sure to tune in. Wait, Gruss says, rumor has Cody winning the WWE Championship and replacing it with the Big Gold Belt World Heavyweight title. That would be dope. I would not be mad at that. I feel like we already have both belts. I would not be mad at having a different belt to differentiate those two belts from the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship. It'd be crazy going to a WCW belt, but they own it. I wouldn't be mad at it, and I think it would be smart. Or if Cody gets the belt and he's the only one with that belt, and if he loses, they just go back to the WWE belt. So I wouldn't be mad at either of those. But what I was saying was make sure to tune in to the blunt ratings done by the homie Lalo. And yes, he likes it. But make sure to tune in to get his blunt ratings on SmackDown and on Rampage and see what his thoughts are on both events. Make sure to tune in tonight. Make sure to check out my IG. As y'all know, I've been back in the studio, but I will be doing a music and movies thing talking about all the music I've been doing. And also there's a showing of Cool Runnings afterwards, trillvision.com. If you want to get more physics outside of the wrestling thing, you can do that as well. But till then, I will see you on Monday. Enjoy some wrestling tonight. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you were here with me, and I appreciate you for that. Until next time, peace.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to know when we go live next. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling on We, and thanks for watching.